Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about favicons. Now, favicon stands for favored icon, and if you've never heard of the term, I'm sure you've seen them as you browse the internet. So here I have an example of three famous companies, and these here are their favicons. So basically it's the logo of a company or a brand. Now, if for favicons we generally want to use simplified versions of the logos, because sometimes logos can be a bit more complex. So because we have kind of limited space here to work with, we want to keep them as simple as possible and also make sure they're nicely visible and have good color contrast. Okay, so this is the Tesla, Microsoft, and Amazon favicons right here. Now, depending on the browser, favicons might be displayed in different places. Generally, in most browsers today, this is Google Chrome, by the way. This is generally where they're displayed these days. So just to the left of the name of the page, right? And if you happen to save the page to your bookmarks, it's also going to show up here as well. So obviously it makes our web browsing experience a lot more interesting, right? When we have some color, it adds interest, visual interest to the page. Also lets us keep track of where we are with each tab, and also it's a great way for companies to make themselves stand out. So anyway, let's now that we know what favicons are, let's talk about how we can create one for our own website. So I have here my setup, which is basically Visual Studio Code with a few files. I have index.html, which is currently empty. Then I have one file in the root directory, which is called favicon1.ico. And this is going to be our logo that we're going to use for our favicon. And I have another folder called img, where I have three other files. And these are all different sizes, and in this case they have a PNG format. So I will talk about what this all means soon, but let's start by setting up our template for HTML. So I'm going to type in doc, press tab, and we have our HTML template. Let's just quickly say here favicons tutorial, and we'll just put something in the body like hello world. That's not really important. Okay, so we're going to save that. And I'm going to use live server here. So I'm going to go ahead and open this page in live server. And right now, you can see it's open here. We don't have a favicon. This is kind of a generic favicon that Chrome uses. But obviously, essentially, we have no favicon at the moment. So we want to put or use this favicon right here. So there's a couple of ways we can do this. I'll show you the old way to do it and also the more modern way to do it. Let me just paste some code in here. Now, first thing we should notice is that the code for the favicons goes into the head section of the website. Okay, so you can see we have our head and head. So starting and ending tag for the head. Do not put it anywhere else, okay? Now, it doesn't matter where exactly in the head it goes. It's kind of up to us. I generally like to put it just above the title, since in our browser, it goes before the title. So why do I have two different codes here? Let's just spread them out a little bit. So the first code right here, this is kind of the traditional or the old way to do it, I should say. Back in, I believe it was 1999, when Microsoft first introduced favicons, this is how you would set them up. You would have a file in your root directory. It would usually be called favicon.ico. ICO stands for, it's basically a Microsoft format, or icons, so Microsoft icon. So you would have that file in your root directory, which is what we have here, right? And then you would simply write a code like this. So you have the link tag, which has several attributes. So we have the rel attribute with icon here, type image /x icon, and then you would have basically a reference to the actual image that you wanted to use. Okay, so this is one way that you will kind of see it done in many older websites still. So let's actually do it for our own website. So I'm going to save this. Okay, and as you can see, it showed up. Okay, so that works. Now, since this was introduced back in '99, a lot of changes have happened, obviously, to the internet, and these days, the rules for implementing the favicon have become much more kind of looser, I should say. So these days, you will see it implemented through something like this. Okay, so we have still it's still the link tag, obviously. We still have icon. Sometimes you will see shortcut icon here. Shortcut is not really important. Then, in terms of format, so these days, PNG is probably the most popular format that's accepted. It can actually be any image format. It can be a GIF as well, but PNG seems to be very popular these days. So we have image PNG, and here we would simply link to our file, to our image file. Okay, so also these days the actual image doesn't have to be in the root directory. It can be in some kind of folder. So in our case, we have the img folder. Okay, so I'd simply go to, let's say I'll choose this one here, 32. Okay, let's save that, and we still have our favicon here. Okay, but now it's coming not from here, but it's coming from this location here. Okay, img/file name. Now you might wonder, why do I have so many different file sizes here? So I have a 16px. This is actually 16 by 16. So I should have also mentioned the favicons do have to be perfect squares. Okay, so this one here is 16 by 16. This one's 32 by 32, and this one is 150 by 150. Now, that's basically to show you that the size is pretty flexible. The minimum recommended size is 16 by 16, but essentially it can be any perfect square. You probably don't want to go too big, because then it'll affect your load time for the website. I generally tend to stick with 32. I find that works pretty well. Maybe 150 sometimes, but I think 32 is pretty safe, at least for displaying it in browsers like this. Okay. So yeah, there we go. We got our 32 working. Obviously, any other one would work. Let's say we choose the 151. I mean, really, it doesn't matter what the size is. It's still going to display. And you will see you want, in terms of quality, you're not really going to see a difference when you have the smallest size. So let's say the 16 one, right? Or the 150. Essentially, it looks pretty much the same. Okay. So that's pretty much it. Essentially, all you need is this code here to be able to implement your favicon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.